So, hello everyone again. So let's start our webinar, how to start our customer journey to Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations. And probably I will give the word to start Søren Pink Jensen, CEO of One Click Factory. Søren?
Thank you, Agne. Good morning, good evening, depending a bit on where you are. Like Agne said, my name is Søren Pink Jensen, and I'm the Chief Executive Officer of One Click Factory. I want to thank you first of all for taking the time. I know it's busy before the holiday season, and you have actually ventured into this webinar. I hope we can give you value for the time that you'll spend here. At least that's our intention, the next 30 minutes. Today with me I have Annette Malmberg from Microsoft. She's a black belt in Dynamics 365 business and has a long history of participating in finance and operation projects and understanding what it takes to bring finance operations or an AX customer into a finance and operations setup. And from our own team, I have Agne Pelaniemi, who runs our finance and operations business, and she'll talk a bit about the standard migration assessment, which is our key tool. Whereas Annette will talk more about the overall Microsoft strategy and tactics for moving to finance and operations if you're an AX customer. And then we'll end up the meeting with a Q&A session. A little bit about One Click Factory. I chose just one slide to give you a quick overview. The first thing I want to say, and if there's nothing else you can remember from this presentation, then, or from my part of it, then it would be that we are a 100% true partner organization. We have been working with partners since 2009, and our services are actually built for partners. Doesn't mean that we don't communicate with customers, but it's always with their partner in the room. We are about 115 people in the company today. About 80 of those are software engineers, split between Business Central and Finance and Operations and .NET. So we have quite a good level of capacity. We also appointed by Microsoft as a Microsoft Development Center, which is very much related to where we come from, which is the upgrade and migration business. When we established One Click Factory in 2009, it was to create a software factory that was focused on upgrades and migrations. And in that regards, we have an offering that is really split into 6 key areas. So competency in the full Dynamics lifecycle, from basically the old version, converting code, and all the way to bringing it to life and maintaining it afterwards. We also dive into the business case, and we are very good at scoping migration projects so that you can have certainty around the financial implications of those. And then we train, especially technical training and functionality trainings in finance and operations. So we have quite a long history of doing that to partners. So that's also an area we can help. We are experts in automation. So we always use tools in our migration projects. So this is Compare and Automerge tools, and of course Azure DevOps is a part of what we do. In order for people to have a or partners and customers to have a technical understanding of what it takes to move into finance and operations, we have the standard migration assessment that Agne will talk a bit more about. If you want something like that for Business Central, we have some analyzers that are actually online services that you can log on to our portal and use to scope Business Central projects. And finally, we have been building an offering around maintaining extensions or solutions that are in the cloud. As you know, Microsoft releases new builds continuously, and you need to make sure that the solution or the extension that you have, your custom extension, actually is tested or pre-tested for those builds. We have that as a subscription service that we can also provide. So that was very short about One Click Factory, and now I'll give the word to Annette, who will talk a bit more about Microsoft strategies in this area.
Thank you, Søren. So I just want to add, thank you the presentation as well. I just want to add that my focus is on-prem to online, and we'll be working together with the Corp to structure this SMA, the Standard Migration Assessment Program, which I've give you very high-level overview of that. Could you please move to the next slide, Agne? Thank you. So I structure my presentation in 3 different areas, which are why, how, and what. So why we are doing that? Microsoft has an extremely large focus on on-premise existing customer, just because we have a very large install base. But we also see that a lot of these customers are now approached by competitors, and we don't want to do that. We would like to keep them in a Microsoft portfolio. Also, we see that in many cases we have a limited partner for on-prem to online in terms of capability and capacity. And many partners are focused on maybe attracting new cloud customers to grow their cloud business. And transitioning on-premise customers to the cloud takes out time and resources. Also, on-premises to online transitioning, taking technical migration skills and change management capabilities that also needs some time and takes some time to build effort and skills. And at last, we see that in many cases, the cloud journey for many of our customers is really cloudy, because it's not very clear to the customer why, how, and when they should start the cloud journey. And also they need to understand what does it mean for them in terms of timeline, in terms of resources, in terms also of cost. And many of the customers, they also, especially an existing one which are on IX 4.0 or older version, they also need to do the full digital transformation, and they need advice how to do it. So next slide, please. So the next is what. This is the Standard Migration Assessment. It's a very high-level overview, and we've been working for a couple of months with Corp to structure this. This is a 2-day standard migration assessment, which is free of charge, with the value of $5,000, and it's globally available for all the partners. So all the partners can do this SMA and provide this SMA to their customers, and also of course, for the eligibility of customer, because we would like to lower the entry for our existing customer to understand what is cloud, what does it mean for their business, but also prepare them for the next step, maybe a more deep dive in their application, in their technical structure and infrastructure, and also get some more detailed about the cost and the timeline. We called every global partner SMA partner. But what I would like to say is that the work that we've done together with our developer centers, and One Click Factory is one of them, is to structure this SMA program in a way which is make it easier and guide also the partners step by step how to do it, what needs to be delivered, and also how they can collaborate with each other. Just because, if you remember on the slide, the first slide, that maybe many of these partner of records to the deal, they don't have the time and resources to do that. And in that case, we see the partner-to-partner collaboration is a way to provide their customer with the services of standard migration assessment. The next slide, please. And the last one that I would like to talk about, this is the how. So together, like I said, with our 4 developer centers, we structure the standard migration assessment framework. And this is a very extensive framework which is telling you exactly what you need to deliver, how the agenda with your customer can look like, also what are the mails that you can send to the customer. And in nutshell, the standard migration assessment framework is containing the pre-analysis, the functional and technical assessment must be performed, and also the content of the migration reports, and of course, like I mentioned, the recommendation of a two-days agenda. I can say that each of these developer centers that we work with, they have maybe their own capabilities, their own IPs, their own methodology, and this is something that they can apply if they are going to deliver the SMA to the customer. The customer is the one who is going to choose the SMA partner, and how the partner and the SME partners like One Click Factory are going to collaborate with each other. This is something that could be done and agreed on depending on the needs that the partner of record has, the capabilities, and the time that they need. But eligibility for partner of record to deliver the SMA, get the funding, is defined in these milestones, which are in a standard migration assessment framework. So like I said, do remember that I know that maybe you have a lot of questions, happy to answer on all of them, but each of the partner can deliver that if they commit themselves to stick to the standard migration framework and be able to deliver them according to the milestones which are described there. So that was from my side. I do hope that you've got a little bit of an overview.
Thank you, Aneta. And let's move deeper in the process. So Agne here, Agne Polaniene, Dynamics 365 FNO Business Line Manager at One Click Factory. And I will dive a little bit deeper into the SME offering that we have and how we apply and what is inside. So first of all, it's actually, it was a very nice experience building the kind of opportunity and the proposal together with the other ISV development centers and together with Microsoft, because we were trying to find out the most efficient way to increase readiness of the customers and help partners to provide as much as possible deeper insights on existing customer solutions and empower customers to participate themselves in their own projects when moving to FNO Cloud. And actually, the focal points of SME Workshop that we're taking inside, as you saw, there are 2 days workshops, so sometimes it might look kind of a very short period of time. But when applying some IPs and analytical tools, it's possible from the very bottom of the code line to get quite well insights about what is the business of the customers today, how much the solution is modified, and actually to be able to have very qualified conversation with the customer about actually how they see the business further, how existing solution well or not well fulfill the requirements, and this is covered with the functional review at the beginning, because coming from the bottom line of the code, actually having people of the customer who are managing the processes to try map how new FNO features and functions and modifications of existing solution map together, how much of existing solution modification is supposed to be carried forward, also what new functionalities that, because you all know like FNO is scaling as crazy, so how those are going to be implemented further, probably in the next steps, and what are the recommendations and capabilities of new Power Apps, CDS framework, Power BI, and so on. So it just empowers partner to have qualified conversation about vision and existing processes moving forward into development. In the technical review, we go through all modifications that exist in overlaying, or there are new modifications, and analyze how much of code refactoring is supposed to be done. So what would be the cost to move existing customizations from overlaying to refactor? How many of those modifications supposed to be moved? Is there technical implementation supposed to be done? And also revise the code from the perspective how much of those modifications supposed to be cleaned out to make the transition process more easier for during the upgrade project. Also, during the same conversations, we identify all interfaces and the type of interfaces that exist, and actually how much of those interfaces we can upgrade, how much of those interfaces supposed to be redesigned, how many of those interfaces probably can be replaced with Power Apps and different other ISV solutions. Also, at the same moment, we discuss about data migration strategies, so database size, the time needed to upgrade database. Is there any optimization supposed to be done? What is the quality of the data? Are there any data cleanup supposed to be done in the process? And at the same moment, to give feeling of the customer expectation, the need of the data transition, and what would be if they would go with open balances, and what would be if they would go with the full database. And also reports is always pretty interesting question because in the older versions of IX, reports used to be quite modified, and now with the new capabilities of FNO, it more or less gives a possibility for the customer to look a little bit from the different perspective on existing reports base, and of course allows more or less to shorten the cost of overall migration process. So having those conversations in those 2 days and coming from the bottom line, we are more or less able to provide an assessment summary and the report for the partner to continue conversations with the customer, like detailed analysis in the object level. What would be the best transition approach? Because transition approach can be straight upgrade. It can be upgrade with reimplementation. If there is some warehouse part supposed to be re-implemented when moving from, let's say, X 2012 to FNO, or it is re-implementation because the solution is so heavily modified and so many objects supposed to be changed that just get out of the box solutions would be the best approach for the customer. Also, it empowers the conversation what would be the exact timeline of such project, because having all technical analysis and understanding what would be the timeline for the technical solution movement as is, and knowing already gaps like additional interfaces or the area that probably would not be upgraded, empowers also partner to understand how much additional analysis they're supposed to do, how much of the standard solution would be possible to move to FNO, and what would be the cost of that. And when seeing that investment, is possible already to talk about the needed resources on the project, how much customer also can contribute to the project, or is there a need of the customer to contribute to the process, and also are there any ISV supposed to be also integrated in overall upgrade project in the end of the phase or the phase of number 2. Also during the discussions, we keep the conversation about how to start the migration process, and migration process could be started just right as up, or sometimes we need some more empowering on the customer to go to the board and approve the budgets and the need to move finally to FNO Cloud. And also answering all the questions for the customers, what one version means, what are the benefits of one version, what does it mean to be on one version, what is the cost of that, and answering all the questions about the cloud risk and trying to get all the fears away. So, and in our reporting that we provide, we just provide the next steps to move forward actually with the project planning. And the areas during the workshop that we are discussing. So first of all, we go through the business organizational structure and evaluating how much the organization grew up. And it's possible that the organization might have X 2009 and X 2012, and they're just looking for the best blueprint version. So in that case, probably 2 workshops supposed to be run to find the best possible blueprint from the first version. Then we assess database size and quality and what's supposed to be done with that. And as I mentioned already, customizations together with the new functionality. If needed during the same workshop, we present some features of the new functionality in FNO just to show the customer how much the solution itself grew up and how some specific business cases easily can be sorted out with new FNO or Power Apps. Also identifying ISVs and identifying ISVs that were implemented, are those ISVs alive, what to do next, is there supposed to be new modifications done, or maybe there is a new ISV in the market, and building the strategy how those ISVs supposed to be integrated in the project and who's going to be managing them during the project, and also discuss approximate probably timeline, budget, team, and milestones of the project to move the solution assist to FNO Cloud. So based on so far experience of the number of workshops that we're running, probably from the past, I don't know, 1.5 years, so the workshop itself helped very well to strengthen the relationship between the partner and the customer, that they were together, because customers usually are very impressed with the partner's ability to get so deep in the solution, to understand every single modification, to prove that the solution is not one modification, or usually sometimes like 3,000 modifications. And also it helps to build the trust between customer and the partner. And during our workshops, we get all the parties around the table, also including Microsoft people who are allowed to answer the questions about licensing if needed, or some strategies to develop the solution further, and so on. Also, as Soren mentioned, so we have a 10 years extended expertise on Upgrade, and if there are any questions and fears from the customer and partner about the Upgrade projects, we're trying to answer all the questions and to make partner and the customer confident in the Upgrade project as such. And then we provide as much as possible information we can. So in the every single object level, we share the risks, we share the possibilities, we explain why one or another area is supposed to be skipped, and what to do next, what's supposed to be steps for the partner, and the analysis areas. Also, we support answering questions related to FNO Cloud. So usually we provide some hours of Q&A session for administration people to explain what FNO Cloud means. And then at the very end, we have a professional project review discussion to empower customers to understand what type of project they will have, and actually what they will get after the first initial phase of upgrading the existing solution to FNO Cloud, and what would be the next steps afterwards. So, so far, some partner that we're working together. So, because usually as FNO customers are quite big, so we support the partners in all the pre-sale cases, starting with the workshop, empowering them to continue the conversation with the customer, and building overall project strategy to move to FNO Cloud. So talking about the next steps, so as you heard from Aneta, so the SME program is built by Microsoft, and actually Microsoft has all the description about the workshop as such, and if you would like to get more information from that, so feel free to contact your local Microsoft services. All pre-sale teams have the description and understand the program very well, and I'm pretty sure it's also in their own interest that as many partners would be involved in this program. Or you can contact us at One Click Factory if you would like to know a little bit more about the migration possibilities and options to F&O Cloud. So we can start with Q&A session now. Will we get the slides and the record of the webinar? Yes, you will have it. We can promise that. Probably another question that we have, what the workshop is not covering. So as Aneta said, the workshop itself is supposed to be pretty high level because, and also every partner can be a SME partner, and there are 4 ISV development centers that are committing on the same agenda. So the goal of the workshop, first of all, is to empower customers to understand where they are today and what would be approximate investment, high-level investment to move the solution as is to F&O Cloud. The workshop does not provide detailed analysis of the processes, how the processes could be extended. It just gives an overview of the capabilities of F&O, and usually we name it as the second stage of the project. For the customers and partners, we explain the first stage of the project to make your company working as today in the best possible painless way. And the second stage of the project is already implementing new features and functions of F&O. Yeah, do you have more questions? So, as people so far pretty silent, apparently everyone is tired, at least in Europe, because it's the end of the day. As I said, so recording is going to be in YouTube, and the slides are going to be shared. So feel free to contact Microsoft or us. Okay. So Microsoft us, if you want to find out more information about it, and I probably would like to ask you not to lose the chance to go through the Microsoft program and use this capability to, as a pre-sale case for your customers moving forward to F&O Cloud. Thank you everyone for joining. It was great having you this evening, and I wish you all to have a very nice evening.
Thank you very much.